Hi everybody and welcome back to Guitar in the Real World. I've got a very special little lesson for you today. At the beginning of this video you saw me doing a drums and guitars multiplied version of Chick Corea's Nite Sprite. Now I wanted to do this sometime last year, way before Chick Corea died. What with that event happening, I thought, well, now's the time to get on with it. So big thanks to my friend John Humphrey for providing the Steve Gadd contributions on the drums, because I think it actually gave the final the finishing touch to a rather ambitious project. It took me quite a while to get this to sound close. Anyway, so today we're just going to talk about the composition really, and I'm going to just sort of take you through all the sections, show you how to play it, and hopefully you'll take away some insight into Chick Corea's compositional genius. Okay, so what's the first thing that we see once the groove gets going? The first melodic part that happens is this little sort of fragmented melody. So the first phrase is this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's all it is, the A section. It's simply that. Okay, so we get that little phrase, that pair of phrases, sorry, and they get repeated exactly the same way again before we get the little drum fill into our bridge section. So let me just play those two phrases again one more time slower for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 4. Okay, so our B section goes like this. And it's this is quite an interesting little thing because the bass is actually playing the melody as well. But I'll play it really slowly for you. There's a lot of position shifting due to the nature of, I mean, you could play it all up here, but I think it sounds tonally better if you shift up here. So I'll just go from the beginning of this section. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we're back into the main groove again. Sorry about that slippery note in there. So we get to the A section, and then okay. So the first bit of really intricate, complicated stuff that we get to play now comes up with the instead of repeating the phrases as they were in the A section, we're going to get these two nifty little phrases here. Now, when I did the recording of this, I played this next phrase in two different ways. On the 3-3-5, I played it with this fingering, and it's this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's quite a good one if you're trying to avoid lots of complicated picking. But because of the expansion and contraction of your left hand, getting down to the end of it at speed is quite hard. Doing that, there's a tendency to go back to the C when you want to go. But they're the notes at a slower speed. Or you can finger it like this. Okay, so that's a bit more compact for your left hand, but the right hand has to do more work. I'll play that for you slower. Okay, not very guitaristic really, but it was written by a keyboard player and played on synth and soprano sax on the original. It's a really good workout though. In order to be able to play these lines, I obviously had to practice them really slowly to get them under my fingers, but also I used the technique of trying to play them too fast, essentially playing them at ridiculously high speed. Now I didn't just go straight in and try and play the whole phrase fast. I would concentrate on like 5 or 6 notes. So just concentrating on that and try and do it as fast as I could do it, basically with a metronome. You know, noticing which notes aren't picking clean. The B flat's a bit weak there because of the picking. And then sort of working on it like that and building it up. And that arpeggio there, again at high speed, is quite hard. All right, so we have our 2-bar drum solo, and then we get the first unison passage, and I'll just play it slowly. It's built around little units of fourths, basically, and that kind of little unit is what makes up most of the unison material that we find in this. So I'll just play it slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so yeah, that's where I'm fingering it. If you wanted to make it sound more like the soprano sax, you'd end up playing it up the octave. I didn't do that in this version. Maybe I should have done. I don't know. It's hard to say. So yeah, that's a full unison. That's keys, sax, and bass on the original, all playing that. And trust me, trying to play it on the bass was a bit of a nightmare. Okay, so that exact phrase as it is actually then takes us into the first set of solos, and there's alternating solos go on, and to dovetail each of these sections we get that same phrase again, and it happens exactly the same way 2 more times. After that we get shortened versions, and this is where the sort of basically the phrase gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So what we get, the second installment of this phrase goes like this. So the also note that the blowing sections get halved from 8 bars to 4 bars, and so what we get is this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I do that again? 2, 3, 4. All right. Note as well, there's a 2/4 bar at the end of that, as there is at the end of the more extended unison passage. Okay, so we get that in that form. That happens 2 more times, and then we get an even shorter version. So now we're into the sort of, you get 4 more bars of blowing, and then you get the phrase with 2 bars of blowing, 2 bars of phrase, 2 bars of blowing. So what you get is this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, blowing, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, so on. And then, so we get that as a total of, in that phrase, we get a total of twice. And then you get 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. So it's just that tiny little section. It's basically the end of the original unison phrase, just down to those, what is it, 5 notes. And then there's a bit more blowing on the original. The 2 instruments, synth and sax, kind of have a bit of a what's the word? A bit of a battle across the 8 bars before we hit this next unison passage, which really at speed is quite hard to play. And I found the best way for me to do it was to tackle this using pick and fingers, just to get all the notes in. And it's this. I'll play it really slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, that's a real tricky one. I would recommend using the picking fingers for the opening couple of phrase, the opening bar of the phrase. So this bit, and then here, it's kind of an economy picking thing I've gone with. And at speed, I went at the end there, you know. So picking fingers and hammering on and pulling off. It's quite a tricky little thing to get through. Okay, so the bridge section returns after the drum solo, but the end of it extends. So we've got up to this this bit up here. And then it goes into our final unison passage, which is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Two, three, four. Okay, so where beat 1 is gets quite hazy towards the end of that. I've just kept it all in 4/4 when I wrote it out, but I guess you could probably put 5/4 bars in, or a 5/4 bar in, or a 3/4 bar in at different places to keep the downbeat feeling the same. And at the end, what you get with this section here. That little thing there, what you've basically got is four semiquavers, 4 semiquavers, and 2 semiquavers. So 8 plus 2 is 10. Yeah. So it's almost like that little repeated phrase is almost like it's in 5, I guess. You could, yeah, there's 10 semiquavers, which is equivalent of 5 quavers. So it's in 5, maybe like a 5/8 kind of phrase. So if you wanted to see it as being in 5, you could, or try and keep it as though you're playing against the 4/4 pulse. That's what it is. It's groups of 5 basically. Okay, so there's my little breakdown of Chick Corea's mighty Nite Sprite composition from his album The Leprechaun. If you haven't heard the track, check it out, because apart from anything else, Steve Gadd sounds amazing. It's a rather legendary drum performance from him anyway, but also Anthony Jackson with his weird phaser sound and using a plectrum. It's kind of a bit of a niche kind of bass sound, but it really works in this context. And yeah, it's a pretty inspiring performance to think that apparently this was take 6 of the takes that they did, but you know, this is 4 players in a room together. Chick would have done some overdubs, I think, on the keys, some synth stuff, but essentially this was 4 people in a room playing together back in 1975 or 6. And yeah, I mean, you can hear the tempo does move around a bit. It doesn't stick rigorously to the same tempo, but man, I mean, as a unit and a group performance, it's really quite incredible stuff. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week. Have a great one. Cheers.